Hello viewers, today we are going to study about necrosis. We know that there are two principal modes of cell death, necrosis and apoptosis, but they differ in their morphology, mechanism and their roles in physiology and disease. So what are the injurious stimuli that lead to necrosis? There are many. Important one is ischemia, then chemicals, toxins, infections, physical trauma in the form of burns, and conditions in which there is release of active enzymes or proteases, as occurs in acute pancreatitis. So in acute pancreatitis, there is a release of active enzymes that leads to digestion of the surrounding tissue. So initially, all these injurious stimuli, they lead to reversible form of cell injury. So reversible form is characterized by generalized swelling of the cell, blebbing of the plasma membranes, detachment of ribosomes from the endoplasmic reticulum, clumping of nuclear chromatin, and fatty change in organs that are involved in fat metabolism, for example liver. Now what happens when the injury becomes irreversible? So when the injury is irreversible, cell has to die. So cell will die by necrosis. Now what is the event or what is the point that determines that cell will undergo irreversible injury and will die by necrosis? So two phenomena, they determine the irreversibility of the cell injury. What are these? These are inability to reverse mitochondrial dysfunctions. Inability to reverse mitochondrial dysfunction. So there will be lack of oxidative phosphorylation, and lack of ATP and ATP. Second is profound disturbances in the membrane function. Profound disturbances in the membrane function. So what will happen when the lysosomal membrane gets ruptured? So there will be release of acid hydrolases that will lead to the digestion or dissolution of the cell. So these two events, they determine that cell will undergo irreversible cell injury and ultimately cell death. Now what happens? Now there is a release of certain molecules like ATP, uric acid from the cell, from the damaged cells, and also certain other molecules that are usually present within healthy cells, and as cell get injured, they are released into the extracellular space. So these are called as damage associated molecular patterns. Damage associated molecular patterns. And macrophages, they have receptors for these DAMPs, and other cells, they also have receptors for the DAMPs. Now what will happen? This will lead to phagocytosis of the injured or the damaged cell. It will also lead to release of cytokines that will induce inflammation, that will induce inflammation. Now these inflammatory cells, they further release proteolytic enzymes. They release proteolytic enzymes which will lead to digestion and clearing of the dead tissue, dead cells and dead tissue. So necrosis is characterized by denaturation of cellular proteins, leakage of cellular contents, from damaged membranes. Damaged membranes means both plasma membrane as well as organellar membrane. Inflammation, and enzymatic digestion of the lethally injured cell. So what are the clinical application of necrosis? So the cellular contents or the cellular proteins that leak out from the cell, they come into the extracellular space and ultimately into the circulation. So they form the basis of blood tests through which we can assess and quantify tissue specific injury or tissue specific damage. What does it mean? It means that certain tissue, they express certain enzymes or certain proteins. When these tissues get damaged, so these contents in the form of proteins or enzymes, they leak out from the cell into the extracellular space and then into the circulation, and these are then detected by blood tests. Example is during MI, there is release of cardiac specific troponins into the circulation, and these can be detected, the levels can be detected. So, and they are increased, the levels of troponins are increased as early as 2 hours after MI. Similarly, the bile duct epithelium, they express specific isoforms of alkaline phosphatase. And the hepatocytes, they express transaminases. So these enzymes and proteins, they are increased when there is injury to the specific organ. So what is the morphology of necrotic cells? There is increased eosinophilia. First is there is increased eosinophilia in H&E stains, hematoxylin and eosin stains. So why there is increased eosinophilia? It is because of the accumulation of denatured proteins, that have affinity for eosin dye, so they stain pink and second is due to loss of cytoplasmic RNA because of the action of RNAs. RNAs stains basophilic. It stains blue in color. So when there is loss of RNA, so the cytoplasm will appear more pink. Second is moth-eaten or vacuolated appearance of cytoplasm. Vacuolated appearance of cytoplasm. So why the cytoplasm appears moth-eaten? Because of the digestion of the cellular organelles. Because of digestion of the cellular organelles. So the space appears empty by the enzymes. Third is glassy homogeneous appearance. Glassy homogeneous appearance of the cytoplasm. It is because of loss of glycogen. Now we have studied that during cell injury there is loss of glycogen. Now fourth is myelin figures. Myelin figures. These are world phospholipid masses. These are derived from phospholipid. So they can either get phagocytosed or they are broken down into fatty acids, which then combine with calcium to form calcium precipitates. Now morphology of nucleus. Now there can be three patterns in the nucleus, in the necrotic cells. So first is karyolysis. Second is pycnosis. Third is karyorexis. So what happens in karyolysis? There is loss of chromatin because of the action of endonucleases. Because of the action of endonucleases, the chromatin appears sparsely distributed. So there will be loss of basophilia. Loss of basophilia. It will be sparsely distributed. What happens in pycnosis? The nucleus appears densely basophilic. The chromatin is condensed and the nucleus is shrunken. This type of feature is also seen in apoptosis. Pycnosis is also seen in apoptosis. What is karyorexis? When the pycnotic dense basophilic staining nucleus, it gets broken down. When the pycnotic nucleus gets broken down or fragmented, then karyorexis occurs. So what are the various patterns of necrosis? First is coagulative necrosis. So this type of necrosis is seen in ischemic injury in all the tissues except the brain. Due to unknown reason, the ischemic injury in brain leads to liquefactive necrosis, which is another pattern of necrosis. So what happens in coagulative necrosis? The architecture of the dead cell or the tissue is preserved. architecture of the dead tissue is preserved. It means that we can make out the outlines that this is a cell, but the details are lost. So we can say there is tombstone appearance of the dead cells. So why it occurs? It occurs because of the denaturation of not only the structural proteins but also the proteolytic enzymes, they also get denatured. And this architecture, it is preserved for at least for a span of few days. It remains in that condition. So how the digestion occurs? So it is occurring due to the inflammatory cells, So the proteolytic enzymes from these inflammatory cells, they are digesting the cells, but after a span of few days. Now an area of or a localized area of coagulative necrosis is called as infarct. It is called as infarct. Now what is happening in liquefactive necrosis? Second pattern is liquefactive necrosis. The dead cell or the tissue gets completely digested, and the tissue is replaced by a viscous mass or a liquid mass. This is seen in the setting of microbial infections, mostly bacterial and also fungal. So the necrotic area or the necrotic tissue appears like a liquid mass. Pus is an example of liquefactive necrosis. It is a collection of leukocytes. It is a creamy yellow liquid. So it is a collection of leukocytes and dead cells. Third is caseous necrosis. One thing is left. So this I have told you that ischemic injury in brain always leads to liquefactive necrosis. Ischemic injury in CNS tissue leads to liquefactive necrosis. Caseous necrosis, it is seen in the foci of tuberculous inflammation. So the necrotic area appears caseous or cheese-like. It appears white friable mass, that gets disintegrated or that gets broken easily, white friable mass. And when we see this area under microscope, it appears like a collection of or accumulation of fragmented cells, amorphous debris, and it is surrounded by an inflammatory border, and it is surrounded by an inflammatory border. Next is fat necrosis. So there is destruction of fat cells. Typically it is seen in acute pancreatitis, where there is the release of pancreatic lipase into the surrounding tissue. So these lipase, they dissolve the fat cells present in the peritoneum. So this will lead to release of triglyceride esters, which are then degraded to fatty acids, which then combine with calcium salts, and these are grossly visible to form chalky white deposits in the peritoneum. And when on histologic examination, the area of fatty necrosis, it appears as an outline of fat cells, basophilic calcium deposits, and inflammation. Next is fibrinoid necrosis. So this type of necrosis is seen in vessels that undergo immune mediated injury. So there is deposition of immune complexes in the vessel wall, as well as the proteins that have leaked out from the lumen into the vessel wall. So they give a pink appearance, pink amorphous appearance, and this is called as fibrinoid necrosis. Now another form of necrosis, the term is used in clinical practice, but it is not a specific pattern of necrosis. It is gangrenous necrosis. It is still used in clinical practice. So here it occurs in limbs, especially lower limb, that has lost its blood supply. So what type of necrosis will be seen? What pattern? There will be coagulative necrosis. But when bacterial infection gets superimposed, so it will become liquefactive or wet gangrene. So let us quickly revise the various patterns of necrosis. Coagulative necrosis, in this the architecture of the tissue is preserved. It is seen in ischemic injury in all the tissues except CNS tissue. So there is denaturation of structural proteins as well as proteolytic enzymes. Liquefactive necrosis, in this the tissue is transformed into a viscous liquid. It is seen in focal, bacterial and fungal infections. So pus is an example of liquefactive necrosis. Pus is collection of leukocytes and dead cells. In this type of necrosis, there is complete digestion of the dead tissue. Caseous necrosis, it is seen in tuberculous inflammation. The necrosis appears cheese-like. It is friable white area, and on microscopy we see fragmented cells and amorphous debris which are surrounded by an inflammatory border. So this whole is called as granuloma. Fat necrosis, in which there is fat destruction. For example, in acute pancreatitis, there is release of pancreatic lipase which dissolves the fat cells in the peritoneum, and this releases triglyceride esters which are then broken down into fatty acids which then combine with calcium, and this is called as fat saponification. And these areas, they appear as chalky white deposits on macroscopic examination. Then fibrinoid necrosis. Here we see deposits of immune complexes and plasma proteins that have leaked out into the vessel wall, and this gives a bright pink amorphous appearance. Then gangrenous necrosis. It is not a specific pattern of necrosis, but this term gangrenous necrosis is used in clinical practice. So it is seen usually in the lower limb that has lost its blood supply. So what kind of necrosis, what pattern will we get? We get coagulative necrosis because it has lost its blood supply. So injury is ischemic injury. And if bacterial infection gets superimposed, then there will be liquefactive necrosis. Then it will be called as wet gangrene. So in this video we have studied about the morphology, the mechanism and various patterns of necrosis. I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching.